background has to do with how this started and where we are now through gold standard EFT, optimal EFT, and the like. When I first brought this to the public in 1995, I did so with a very open hand. Many of you may remember that. I had no idea it was going to be in the hands of millions of people. So I just said, it's a very precious thing. Do what you want to do with it. They had no legal, fences around it or anything like that. Do what you want to do with it, and so on. And so, of course, people did that, and it spread all over the world rather rapidly, partly because of my open hand and partly because it worked really well. Now, what has happened in the meantime is what I didn't understand was what people would really be doing with it. And people got very enthusiastic about it, and they blended in their own ideas. They took some things out, put some things in, they rearranged it, but still called it EFT and tapping. And as a result, there are hundreds of versions of EFT that are on the internet now. Some are very actively promoted, and others aren't. But there's DVDs and books and all this. And what has happened with all of that is that no two of those are the same. It's really interesting. They're using the name EFT, they're using the name tapping, but it's what I have tried to teach, gone through all these belief systems and come out differently in all these different places. That's not for me a point of criticism. It's just a point that we observe that, and it becomes very confusing to the public, and I suspect a number of you are listening in because of that confusion. What really is EFT? Because if you put all these together, you put them all down on a table, these other versions, variations of it, they seem the same near the surface, but when you get down below the surface, they are widely, widely different. So anyway, to help correct that, a few years ago, myself and my daughter Tina put on the internet what we call the gold standard. That's gold standard EFT. That is everything we've learned about EFT from its beginning, all the updates and revisions and so on. We put it into one elaborate place where everybody could go to have the ultimate EFT standard. There's 54 videos in there, etc. It's our gold EFT tapping tutorial. And so that exists, okay? Now, and that exists for those who want, the actual standard and the sort of the home place to go. Now, let me talk about optimal EFT for a moment. When I first brought this out, I had my spiritual experience a number of years before. Many of you have read about that on my optimal EFT website and so on. And I tried at the time to inject those more spiritual concepts into the EFT process. And a lot of people, some people would go, well, that's interesting, but a lot of people would just sort of roll their eyes, and they just weren't ready to hear a spiritual use of these processes. They were getting so much results out of the mechanical tapping on these systems. They didn't want to really hear about the other. Things have changed in the meantime. In the last 2 or 3 years, as I would bring this up to people, they would sort of sit up and tell me more, and there's been a lot of interest. So now, finally, I'm able to interject into the EFT process for those who wish to go there, what I'm calling optimal EFT. So now let me now give you sort of a metaphor to put all this in perspective, and then we can start asking questions and so on. The metaphor I want to give you is that of a swimming pool. Now, a swimming pool has a shallow end and it has a deep end. And as it turns out, what most people have done with all these variations have learned EFT in what I'm calling the shallow end of the pool. They use scripts. They tend not to get into the specific events and the tabletops and the table legs and the getting down to core issues and and material that is so painstakingly taught in our tutorial, they would prefer to be in the shallow end where you can get a lot done. I mean, headaches go away and a lot of good things happen and so on in the shallow end of the pool. And for a lot of people, that's really where they belong, shallow end of the pool. To go any farther than that just is not, they just don't want to do that. It's not interesting to them and so on, but they can do a lot with just these shallow end of the pool basics. Now, the gold standard EFT tutorial starts people in the shallow end of the pool, takes them step by step into the deeper ends of the pool, where we get down to the specific events, where we get down into the areas where we can break down even the most complicated of issues into simple specific events, knock them down, and get a whole lot done in a manner you can't really do in the shallow end of the pool. Okay, so there's the shallow end of the pool, then there's the deep end of the pool, which is the gold standard EFT tutorial. Now, the graduating from the deep end of the pool, which is what optimal EFT is about. It brings in the spiritual aspect, and it's sort of like graduating from the deep end of the pool into the ocean, where it's basically unlimited to potential. However, to do that, there's a new form of thinking that needs to go on. We're inviting in another therapist from the spiritual dimension. We're calling it the unseen therapist. It's another term, if you will, for God, Spirit, Holy Spirit, higher intelligence, and all the other terms that are given to that. But this one process, properly done, can take you into many, many other areas. But while it is for everyone who wants to walk through the door, not everyone is going to be pleased with it. It's going to be too much for them. They'd rather stay with the gold standard and the tapping and so on. And so that's why we have both of those now on our website. Okay. Now, one other little way to look at this, and then we'll open for questions. And that's this. Here I'm trying to give another perspective to optimal EFT. If you'll take a look at the tapping form of EFT, with which I presume you have been familiar with for years, what we're doing there is really two things. One, we are identifying an issue, a bothersome specific event in our past, for example. So we've identified the issue. Then, once we have identified the issue, we will then bring peace to the system. And in the tapping form of EFT, we do it mechanically, by tapping on the various points. It's a mechanical way of bringing peace to the system, a very effective way, and the more skillfully you use it, the more effective it will be. Okay. Now, optimal EFT is really the same concept with one difference. First of all, we still identify the issue, but instead of bringing peace to the system mechanically through tapping on the various meridians, we do it mentally or spiritually by bringing in, through means that are described to you on the website, the unseen therapist to resolve these issues. And I have been doing this now for months. My experience with it so far is there is nothing that I can do with tapping that I can't do by bringing in the unseen therapist and using optimal EFT. I can do everything with that process that I can do with the tapping process. The difference is I'm bringing in this unseen therapist who is a lot more intelligent, a lot wiser in these things than I can ever be. And I'm finding in some cases that what's happening is happening a lot more efficiently. It's happening a lot deeper. It's happening in some cases more quickly. As the unseen therapist gets to issues that may take me quite a bit of questioning and detective work to find, it seems to find it like that. Other times not. I'm still learning here, as we will be learning together as we go on and on. I'm going to unmute you, Lewis. If you have a question, let me know what it is.
Hi, Gary.
Hi.
Thank you very much for EFT and optimal EFT as well.
Sure.
I have a question with because I gave it a shot with the optimal EFT a few times very successfully, and the last one with much more difficulties. I had the feeling I was going in circles somehow, and I wondered if I wasn't dealing with the safeguard that you mentioned.
Well, the safeguard, you're probably talking about the guard at the gate.
Yes, the guard at the gate.
Okay. Yeah, and the guard at the gate, just to remind folks, the guard at the gate is really, it's our own ego and the ego of our clients that is resistant to leaving this illusionary separate state that we talk about. Okay. That very same block that you're just talking about is there whether you're doing tapping, the tapping form, or medicine, or anything else. You may get some temporary kind of results, but basically, as long as the guard at the gate is there saying, you're going to run into that, okay? So that is one of our learning issues here. That has to do with our own personal work. The better we get at this, the better channel we're going to be for unseen therapists to come into his job. The better educator we can be for the clients so they can gradually let go of their resistance, okay? Now, one of the things that I've found helpful in a case like this, if I'm hitting a wall, is to back up and get down to things that are more specific for this person. I don't know what kind of issues you were dealing with, but I might get down to some of the symptoms they're having, for example, or something, a milder form of what they're dealing with, so that we can get into it step by step by step. I don't know if that helps or not, because I don't know the details of your situation. What else can you tell me?
Tu peux me dire? Si, le mal de tête. I'll bring the person I did it with. That's going to be much more easy.
Hi.
Oh, hi.
What he was doing, I have all this problem with the side of my head. There's always this pressure when I get stressed.
Yes.
And I can't seem to find a way to get rid of it. And I'm not sure what block I'm putting up. I don't want to live with it, but it seems to be there often. Every time I get stressed, it seems to come back again.
Okay.
So I'd like to get rid of it.
Well, from a larger EFT point of view, whether you're doing physical tapping or the optimal EFT thing, the concept here is that this is our approach. There is likely some emotional issue that is causing the stress that shows up in the eye. Okay.
Yes.
And what we want to do is get down to the specifics of what is that emotional issue. And it's typically a specific event or one or more specific events somewhere in your lifetime that has not been resolved yet. Now, have you gone that route, the two of you?
I think we've found a lot of things, but maybe we haven't gone into the details really of one thing that really touches it.
Okay. All right. Well, and that's part of what the skill of EFT is the detective work to go find these things for the deep end of the swimming pool. Okay.
Yes. Yeah.
Another thing you can do, though, is if you cannot locate such an issue, you can always do what we call the personal peace procedure. Are you familiar with it?
Yes, I do know it. Yes.
Okay. If you make all this list of all of these things that happen in your life that you'd rather have resolved and keep doing that, chances are you're going to be chipping away at whatever is affecting the eye. Now, I would like right now, this is going to be interesting. I wasn't expecting to do this right away. If you are willing, I would like to have everyone on this audience with my coaching to a degree use a very basic form of optimal EFT and see if something cannot be done with that eye. Are you open to that?
It's great.
Okay. Now, I have to pre-frame this because a lot of people sit back and say, oh, now we're looking for magic. Hooray, she's going to be cured forever, and she'll probably lose 10 years of, in age, and all of that, okay? Well, maybe that will happen, but on the other hand, maybe nothing will happen, and that doesn't mean this doesn't work. That means there is some block we haven't identified yet, and so on, okay? But it is an experiment. So what I'm going to ask, first of all, I need to ask you, is there right now a physical symptom in your eye that you can point out? And is there a pressure there? Can you feel something in your eye now?
There are 2 points. There's one on the top of the eyebrow and then one in the back of the head, and it sort of moves around. Depends on the day. Okay,
and what would you call that? I mean, describe that symptom. Is it a sharp pain, a dull ache, a throb?
I'd say maybe a dull ache.
A dull ache.
Yes.
Okay.
It's like a pressure. It's like someone's pressing on top of it.
Okay, and on a scale of 0 to 10, where 10 is the worst it's ever been and 0 is nothing, what would you estimate it now?
Maybe a 7.
Maybe a 7. All right. Well, okay.
I'll go back on the floor.
let me again pre-frame all of this. I'm going to walk you through this. We're going to do only just a very cursory, basic kind of thing here. But here's what we're going to do. Here's what we're going to do. So let me just coach you all through this. In fact, do it now if you would. Everybody just close your eyes and be quiet for a moment. Okay? And then imagine yourself, I'm sorry, I did not get your name. Can I have your name?
Charlotte.
Charlotte, okay. Okay, imagine yourself being Charlotte and having this 7 intensity thing in your eye that comes about with stress. Just imagine being her. And remember, we're all one, so whether you have difficulty imagining it or not, you still are one with her. And then as you get quiet, just imagine bringing in unseen therapists. If you wish, just imagine generating love in your own system and send that love to your eye, being Charlotte's eye. Just send it, circulate the love around. Kiss it, if you wish. Put arms around it. Send love to it in any way you think would be useful. And I'll let you do that for a few moments. Okay, Charlotte, can we see you again? Check out your eye. Is it still a 7? Has anything changed? Good, bad, or otherwise?
No, I think it's gone down. It's like a 5. It's not the same pressure, and behind the head is the same thing. It's not. I'd say that's a 5 as well.
So both of them are 5s?
Yes.
All right. Okay. Well, that's some progress, and now I'm going to ask everybody to do the same thing, but do it a little differently this time, okay? Everybody close your eyes, and this time imagine yourself being Charlotte, and instead of just focusing on the symptom, which is where the eye, and the pressures in the eye and the back of the head and this kind of thing, rather imagine some form of unresolved emotional issue. You may not know what it is, but just imagine you're her. You take on stress. what I tend to do in a case like this, when I really don't have a clue what the issue is I will imagine some form of emotional jitter in my, being Charlotte's, system, because I'm being her. Some form of emotional jitter or vibration, like that. And get that idea with the sense that that issue, whatever it may be, is behind the physical symptom of the eye. Okay. Now, as the eyes are closed, bring in this form of love, the unseen therapist, and let it wash over this jitter and calm it down so there's nothing but peace. Just do that, okay, for a moment. Spend a little time with that. Okay, Charlotte, where are you?
And come back again.
Are you still 5s?
No, that's gone down to about 3. It's much less than before.
Is it 3 in both places?
No, I'd say it's like a 2 above the eye, and in the back of the head would be maybe 3.
Okay.
The pressure is much less.
All right. Okay. I want to go one more round just to see what will happen.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And we're going to do the same thing we did last time. And so everybody, you can all close your eyes and I will walk you through this again. And that is, imagine some emotional issue. First of all, you are being Charlotte. So imagine you with some emotional issue that is you being Charlotte, with some emotional issue that is causing tension and stress in your system showing up in your eye. You haven't identified it, but perhaps unseen therapists can do a better job at identifying it than you can through a series of questions and other detective work. So imagine that jitter, that kind of thing, and then bring love into it, unseen therapist, cover it over with light, love, caresses, whatever you want to do for a few moments. Okay, Charlotte, what's going on?
Yeah, it's behind the back of the head is like gone down to about a 1. Very, very slight. And over the eye is like a 2. But it felt there was a lot of movement there. Like it was not trembling, but it was like moving just above the eye.
Was your sense of it that it was a form of healing movement or just movement or?
No, it felt like when you were talking about being loving to it, that felt really good. It felt like that was sort of missing somewhere.
Okay. Did you, and some people do this and some don't, so I'm just going to ask you, as this was going on, could you feel people doing this?
I could feel there was something, it was a connection outside and inside. It was
all right, great. Charlotte, thank you so much for being our subject here.
Beautiful. It's a big surprise.
Well, let me also point out to everyone else here, some of you, as you were doing this process, since you and Charlotte are all one and you're all one with everybody else here, it would not surprise me to learn that some of your own issues, physical issues, etc., got some resolution. Some of you may have had a headache or a backache or a shoulder pain or something like that, and you may have noticed it subside as well. I've seen that before. This is the beginnings of some really extraordinary group work that can be done, but we're still practicing, so to speak. And again, we could only do this on the most superficial of levels because we don't have enough information yet. Okay, so it's really kind of an experiment. Next would be Sharon Dowell. I don't know how you pronounce it. I remember talking to you, Sharon, over email, but here we are. Go ahead.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yeah.
My question is, I was starting on the personal peace procedure with the optimal EFT, and I picked an issue that I had already worked with and thought was something still there, but not that high. It turned out to be very high. Started sobbing, multiple aspects. So, and I tried to bring in the love at the same, as that was going on, and it was, more difficult because of all that was going on. So my question is, as we're learning this and we have deep emotions coming up, what I did is I just went back to tapping because I didn't feel like I could really generate the quality of the love at the same time that I was, sobbing and all that. So is that a good thing, or should we really try to, your body can be going through crying, but part of your brain can be outside of it trying to do that. So I just wondered on some ideas about that.
Well, okay, and thanks for that question, and it's a good one. Some people come to optimal EFT with a sort of this may not be you, I'm speaking to a broader audience as well as to you, okay? With a sort of I've got to do it right type thing. And so if they don't do it right, whatever, they feel like they're a failure, etc. But that's the absolute wrong concept here. Optimal EFT, to do it skillfully, and by the way, I'm still learning how to do this, okay? You guys are teaching me as well as me teaching you. So it's a ladder that's just never ending and up to the cosmos, okay? But so it's going to take practice. I have an article in there in our lessons called The Power of Practice. And the more you practice, the better you will get at it. But we are all a long way away from perfection here. Let me give you an example. And this is kind of a metaphor, if the ladder all the way up to the cosmos, to heaven, to the ultimate enlightenment, if you will, has got a million rungs on it, okay? I'm probably in something like rung number 37, okay? Now, that's nowhere near the top, but it's a whole lot better than where I started at rung 1, okay? Now, the thing you talk about was reverting back to tapping. I mean, that's fine. I do not expect people just to drop all the tapping and just start doing optimal EFT. People are used to doing it. The mechanical version works well, etc. And so do in this what fits for you. Try optimal EFT. Once in a while, I mean, if you're having difficulty, you will find from time to time, aha, something happened. And now you've got a big clue, big evidence. Yes, something happened, no tapping, no nothing, right, and I got this result.
Right.
Okay. And then eventually you get another one, and after a while you get to the point where you perhaps will let go of the tapping and get more and more into the spiritual end of it. But this is a different journey for different people, as we all have our different ways of doing all of this, which is going to be Sylvia B. Are you there, Sylvia?
Yes, I am.
Oh, I can hear you. Okay, fine.
Super. My question is in regards to static memories versus ongoing situations. So is there a different approach? Like, let's say you're in a bad job, you can't leave it, but you've got this boss you have to deal with, or you're going through a divorce and it's an acrimonious one. You can't physically remove yourself from that, but it has an emotional impact on you, and it's an ongoing thing.
Yeah.
Versus, I had a trauma when I was 3, and I can tap that out.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. I generally speaking put that into the category of the battered wife, I call it. Okay. But while you may not be a battered wife, you have an ongoing thing that happens all the time. Okay.
Exactly. Yeah.
And in the battered wife circumstances, which is parallel to what we're talking about here, what happens is, you know, in this example, the husband comes home, he has a few beers, he starts swinging his fists, you know, and she takes the wrong end of it. She's in a position where maybe she doesn't have any occupational skills. She has 3 children. She's got to stay where she is for support or whatever. But somehow or other, she's got to get out of there, make a healthier decision, etc. Now, what EFT will do in a case like that is it's not going to change the circumstances. What we can do with EFT as we start aiming it at the situation is to begin to give the battered wife, you in your version, in your example, a better platform. You get more peace on the situation so you can make better decisions. You can choose, if you're the battered wife, you know, to leave the marriage. And instead of having all this emotional static going on, which gets in the way of good decision making,
Right.
you can then move forward with doing that. But it takes effort, and quite often, this is where some of the skill comes in. There are past emotional events which are making this current one exaggerated. Using your example of maybe a boss you may not get along with. Perhaps that boss reminds you of somebody in your past, your father, your ex-husband, your boyfriend, your whatever, okay? And so that also adds to the problem. Whoever it is you're not getting along with, or whatever the circumstances are, is bouncing off of something in the past. And so the skillful use of EFT is, let's go back and find that. Let's use the personal peace procedure if we can't find it, because that will probably get it anyway, okay? And start collapsing that. And that way your emotional response to the current circumstances will be more centered. You may not like what's going on. It may not, to be the battered wife, it may be no fun to get hit, okay? But if you got all this emotional static going on, you can take care of it through these other means. Now, optimal EFT, if you've gotten skills at it, is more likely to be able to go back and find these other issues you're bouncing off of. Although you can find them by skillful questioning and so on. Where did you learn that you need to drink water to do any form of EFT?
I've actually done EFT with other people. I mean the professional EFTers through Skype. They have also told me like water is very, very beneficial. It's good for energy movement and all that.
Okay, well let me comment on that if I can. I've heard that myself, but if you follow all the videos that I've ever done, and there's a lot of them out there, and all the work I've done with EFT, I have never, ever, ever, ever bothered with drinking water. I mean, I'll have water on stage for people, you know, to drink if they're thirsty, but I don't say drink some water to make sure you're hydrated and all of that. I don't think water has anything to do with the effectiveness of EFT, be it gold standard EFT, the shallow end of the swimming pool EFT, optimal EFT, or any of that. But let me talk about that for a moment. This is one of the things that comes about as I put EFT out and it goes through all these belief systems that I talked about earlier. People start getting these ideas, and yes, being hydrated is important for your physical health. Yes, 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 we need to be hydrated. But I want to give you a little story here, which I hope will put perspective on this. In my younger years, I was a football player. And for 8 years, high school and college, we would have 2-a-day practices for 2 weeks before the season, okay? And these were late in the summer, hot, and and I would lose, as would almost everybody else out there practicing, 15, maybe as much as 20 pounds of water just by sweating. And in those days, we weren't allowed to drink water during the practice. It just wasn't allowed. That was being like a sissy or something like that. Now, that was wrong, of course, but that was what happened those days. And so my body and the bodies of others would, of course, get depleted with water. Our physical bodies would be exhausted as a result. But our mental capacities were fine. There was nothing. I mean, we could have all the emotions we wanted. I mean, walk and talk and everything else. I mean, the depletion of water was so severe that we would go into the showers after the workshop and we would literally drink the shower water. We would drink it, boom, 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 boom. And then we'd go to lunch or dinner and they would have big pitchers of lemonade, and I would put down 2 gallons of lemonade. And then so would everybody else, to replenish the water, and we were so depleted that nobody had to urinate after that. Okay, the liquid just got our system. But that shows you what happens to us physically, but we were perfectly able to do everything else in our world except, our bodies were depleted with water. So what I'm saying here is if you want to drink water, go ahead. But to think that it really makes a difference in whether or not you're going to get results with EFT, I don't see it. I don't say don't do it, but I am saying I just don't see why it's really necessary. So I hope that helps.
Like I've worked with the practitioners, even they have water bottles and all that. They keep drinking the water again and again. It doesn't
hurt anything.
Yep. Yeah, exactly.
You may have to use the bathroom more often, but I don't think it has anything to do with how well EFT is done.
My question is, when you are calling on the unseen therapist, are you always using yourself, like putting yourself in the client's shoes, or did you only do that? Do you only do that when you're working distance, or did you only do that because we're in a group? Like we all made ourselves Charlotte and imagined ourselves as Charlotte.
Thank you. One of the underpinnings of optimal EFT is the fact that we, despite what our senses erroneously report, we are all one. We are not really a bunch of separate bodies running around, even though it convincingly appears that way to our senses. Okay. And so to answer your question, yes, but I already have built into my system, because I've had my own spiritual experience. I've entered the oneness myself, okay, gotcha. Which others have not, okay. But I don't have any problem with that. But when I instruct others to do it, I realize they haven't had my experience. So to answer that question, keep getting the idea that you are one with whoever you're working with. Okay? And as you imagine yourself to be them, which indeed you are anyway, okay, then it becomes more and more ingrained in you to do that. More and more you'll see the outside world, those other people that presume to be out there, you will see them as mirrors of yourself. Let me give you a little example here. In fact, I think I have it on my Optimal EFT website. Maybe you've seen it. But I was dealing with a lady, and we were surrogately doing optimal EFT for her son's physical issues.
Okay.
Okay. Her son was not there. Her son didn't even know we were doing it because he didn't like any of this kind of stuff.
Right.
Okay. So the two of us would become one. We would invite the son into it, even though he wasn't there, just because we're all one. But before we did this, I asked her about her own physical issues. And she was pointing out she had in the this quadrant of her chest area, she had I think it was at a 6, some ongoing pain, discomfort about a 6. She had a few other things which I'm not remembering now, but there were a handful of other things that are generally speaking around a 6. And they were pretty chronic in there, okay? So I just made note of those. We went ahead and did all this for her son. Her son got results that were visible, that she could see, okay? But during that session, I asked her, after we had done this for her son, how she was feeling about her stuff. And it all went down to zeros and ones, okay?
Mm-hmm.
So what's in there is this extraordinary piece that we need to develop, that as you become one with someone else or recognize you're one with someone else and you are helping someone else with their, presumably their separate issues, right. You are indeed working on your own, because as their issues are your issues, the details may be different.
Sure.
You know, maybe they've had an abusive childhood, for example, and maybe you didn't. And so they have anger, grief, and guilt and all this kind of stuff, okay? But you also have your own anger, grief, and guilt. The details are different, that's all. But the ultimate issues are the same. Okay. And that's one of the fascinating things in here, this oneness bit. The more we can develop it, the more extraordinary things are going to be for us. But it's going to take us a while. Now, did I hit the bullseye of your question or not?
You did, and you also had me thinking about something. I mean, same vein, but I went through this period of time where I was really struggling in my practice. I was part of a therapy practice, but I went through this period of time where I was feeling physically depleted at the end of my day. Like before I even got to work, I was falling asleep in my car. And so I went through this period where I'd be in a session with people and I would be trying to figure out, is what I'm feeling their issue or my issue? And I've probably spent way too much time on trying to figure that out. I mean, after the session, I'd be like, is this me? Is this them? And when I hear you talking, it doesn't matter, because it's all of our issue. It doesn't matter whether it's mine or it's theirs.
Yes, and
right?
And in fact, it is both of yours. It just does not appear that way. Okay?
Right.
And that is one of the mindsets that takes a while to develop. We can discuss it, you and I, academically at this point. And as we have more and more experience, it gradually shifts from being an academic discussion to actually owning it.
Right.
There's a difference. But typically it takes time to develop that. You get ahas along the way. That's one reason I encourage people to listen in on these webinars, because these kinds of conversation will go on all the time, and it will constantly give little pieces to people from wherever they're coming from that, oh, I hadn't thought about that one before, and it's a little more chunk along the way. It's one more rung up that ladder that we talked about to the ultimate enlightenment.
Right.
Okay.
Right. Well, thank you.
Okay.
Very much.
Great. Thank you. Go ahead, Renee.
So I worked with a lady who is a doctor, and she's very depressed for many years. And I worked with her with EFT, but also with recently, when I heard about your optimal EFT, I tried to work with her because she had to pass an examination.
She has what? I'm sorry?
She had to go and have an examination. Is that the right word?
A reevaluation test to be a doctor again, because she's been off for about
5 years.
Oh, she had to go
reevaluated.
Prove herself academically as a doctor.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, it's the French medical system is very strict over here. So.
And where is over here?
France.
France. Okay.
France, yeah. And she was very anxious, and she was ready to give it up because she was too anxious. So I did in distance, because she's in south of France, as if I was merging into herself, because we are not separated. So it was like my own insecurity and sometimes devalorization that I know a lot about.
What was that word? What was that word?
Dévalorisation, c'est quoi en français?
Devalorization, lack of self-esteem.
Oh, okay, all right.
Valorized, that's it.
Yeah.
And so I merge into my own low self-esteem, and I sent love to me at that time. And then when I called her back, she was ready to go. And when she was in the exam room, I knew at what time she was there. And I did some, well, I call it merging, to help her. And at the end of the day, she called me back. Of course, the exam was okay. And she said to me that I don't know what happened, but I'm very peaceful.
Yeah.
And,
okay.
And at the same moment, I was also peaceful and confident, and something else happened to me as well as it happened to her.
Yes, and that would be expected when we're bringing in unseen therapists.
Yeah.
Correctly, because a lot of things happen that don't happen with the mechanical tapping. Okay. Now, but I want to put perspective on this if I can. Many people that I've talked with had a similar experience to yours. They brought in love. They got big benefits themselves. The other person got a benefit. No tapping involved, and so on. Okay. The temptation is to say, that's how optimal EFT always works. Okay. And we really can't say that yet. At this moment, given the severity and the resistance that your client has, and your own for this issue, unseen therapist was able to just come right in and do this. The guard at the gate had the gate open on this particular issue, and here you go, okay? Other times the guard at the gate, which again is our own ego, is our own resistance, and so on, got that gate shut nice and tight, okay? And so we have to learn more and more about optimal EFT and how to bring in all this and all the spiritual concepts, etc., that I have developed so far on our website, and I will be developing more as time goes on. It's going to be an unfolding thing. You guys are going to help me do this. I am not the last resort on all of this or any of this, okay? Believe me, I'm still climbing the ladder like you are, okay? So that's my response to it. Did you have a question behind that, or does that do it?
No, I have a question because also she had something in her eyes, and when I did that, I had not any clue about getting my eye better. So okay. How can that, is the unseen therapist can have a better look, a better view of everything, and just do it.
Okay, what I'm not clear about in what you were saying was, Renee, are you saying to me that during this process your eye became better?
It was healed.
Yeah,
because
okay.
I had a very sharp pain for many, many months, and it was gone after the session, and it didn't come back.
Let me ask you this. Did you try the tapping form of EFT for your eye?
Yes, I did.
Previously? Previously. And what happened?
It was better, but it was still there. It was coming back a long period without nothing, and coming back like a stab in the eye.
Okay, thank you. And that allows me to make a really important point here. When we use the tapping form of EFT and we aim it at something and we only get partial or temporary results, which is the case that you're talking about here, okay, that always points to the fact that there is, at least from our approach, an unresolved, one or more unresolved emotional issues underneath that, which we haven't gotten to yet. We haven't found, we haven't put them on the table to work with yet, okay? And we can do that by questioning and being detective and so on, but what happened here, and which I have seen with some frequency now, is that when we bring in the unseen therapist knows a lot more than you and I will ever know about any of these issues and what the real cause is, okay? And so it can go behind the scenes, and so long as the gate is open, it can take care of lots of stuff, okay? And so here's a great example of it. You only got just so far before with it, and then along comes the unseen therapist, and now it gets healed. Let me ask you, how long ago did you try this? How long has this healing been in effect for your eye?
It was last week, and I really feel that it's gone.
Okay, well, we will know as time goes on whether it's really gone or not.
Yeah.
But for the moment, it appears as though unseen therapist has just wiped that one out.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean we don't, I mean, if it shows up in a month or two or a year, that doesn't mean that it failed here. It means we have more to do, or you've got some other emotional issue now which is showing up in your eye. I mean, all this stuff goes on, you know.
Okay. Thank you, Gary.
If everybody else's emotional issues were cleared up, then you would be enlightened?
Yep, yeah.
That's an interesting way to put it. Let me, I don't know how to answer the question exactly the way that you posed it to me, but I like the question. Let me give you the answer that A Course in Miracles would give you. And remember, that happens to be my particular spiritual path. It doesn't necessarily have to be yours or anybody else's, but I'm going to give you its answer at this point. And that is, we are all one. Everybody else's issue is really a mirror of yours, even though it does not appear that way. The details are just different, and so on. And as you begin to see other people, which is still you, without their issues, that is, you have forgiven it all, it is like it is a dream. You really buy the fact that it's an illusion. And all this stuff going around, you're outside of it, sort of looking at it amused, okay? That is when your enlightenment is going to start showing up. It's a form of what I've put on my website, my optimal EFT section of the website, called true forgiveness. True forgiveness is to not only forgive in the way we tend to think about forgiveness, but to go a step further and to recognize it's all a dream, and in fact, there's nothing even to forgive. Now, that's a big step, and you just don't snap your fingers and do that. Now, I flipped into that in my own spiritual experience, and other people have, but we get there briefly and come back, okay? I'm trying to get back to that myself, but that's the ultimate piece in there. It's the true forgiveness, and I'm going to point you to that to help you with that answer, and I hope that's going to do it for you.
Got a quick question. Could you give a little insight as to how you enter a loving state before doing optimal EFT?
Oh, well, I'm glad you asked the question, because I'm so used to doing it that I never thought about how I did it. I'll go back to the point that my spiritual path is A Course in Miracles, and it includes in that process a series of daily lessons one can do, one a day for a year, okay, 365 lessons. And most of those lessons are some form of light, brief meditation, if you will. They're basically asking you to close your eyes, get the rest of the world out of the way, and bring love in. Now, it's done in a variety of different ways, but that's the essence of it. So I have a lot of experience of that, and I get into it pretty quickly. That's practice, okay? Now, if you find that difficult to do, and many will. You just need to keep practicing, because little by little, you will improve that. But let me point something out to you. I gave a workshop at the very beginnings of optimal EFT, and other people brought this question up. So what I did was the following. I had the whole group close their eyes for a minute and try to get quiet. And then after a minute, I asked people to raise their hand who had a problem doing that. A lot of people raised their hand. So I went around to some people. There were 3 in particular, I remember. And, you know, they could only get quiet for maybe 2 seconds, 5 seconds, something like that. And the rest of the time, all this other interference, all the thoughts occurred. So here's where tapping could then come into place. Because what I had them do was just start doing tapping on that issue. Even though I can't get quiet for a whole minute, okay, and I deeply accept myself, I can't get quiet, I can't get quiet, I can't get quiet, I can't, and so on, okay? I had them do, I don't know, they just followed along with me for 2 or 3 rounds. I went back again and asked the same people, and it was a dramatic difference in their ability to get quiet. So here is a sort of a stepping stone use of tapping to get you to a point where you can get more quiet. Was that clear?
Yeah, that's good.
Let me talk about the resistance that we tend to get when we're doing this. Some things work really, really well, and some, well, not so much. Remember, the unseen therapist, its goal is different than our goal. Our goal is, I have a headache, I want the headache to go away, okay? That's not necessarily the unseen therapist's goal. The unseen therapist's goal is much deeper than that. It's to start chipping away at the beliefs that you are separate to begin with. It's only because you believe you're separate that you have any physical ailments at all. Okay. That's where it's coming from. Okay, so it's chipping away at the back. The fact that we get physical results from this is an echo of what it's doing behind the scenes. And so that's its ulterior motive, and our guard at the gate is very resistant to that. We simply, I mean, we may academically want to go there, but when you come right down to it, we really don't want to let go of this sense of separateness in exchange for the enlightenment, etc. And so we need to recognize at first academically what this guard at the gate is doing, and it's just really us. And gradually we'll see, I'm in the way, and our resistance starts to fade. Okay.
My personal opinion is that we sort of can change any situation with EFT by working on ourselves, by sort of believing that most of the situations that happen is because of us, and maybe it's our world and I often call it a fault, but it's our creation. And by changing ourselves, we reflect that energy on others, which will change the situation. That's my personal belief.
Well, what you're doing there is you're changing your perception of the situation. Yes, and I may have misspoken when I said you can't change the. I was giving the example of the battered wife and the husband coming home and swinging his fist after a few beers and that kind of thing, okay? That actually can be changed as well, but we have to be a little careful there, because what we tend to want to do is say to unseen therapists, go change their behavior so that I feel better, okay? Now that's a form of manipulation. That's a form of, I've got to get a result out of this, okay? Better to ask unseen therapists, in the optimal EFT sense, to bring peace to the other party, to bring peace to the husband who's swinging his fists, okay? To bring peace to them so their own issues get resolved. And as they get resolved, they're much less needful of expressing it by, in my example, swinging the fist. So yes, you can have effect on that. But we have to be careful that we're using it in a non-manipulative and rather a loving way.
My actual question is, have you ever used past life regression with EFT?
I've never used past life regression per se, I mean, by that name. What I have done in the past is when we seemingly can't find a specific event that is underlying some issue that they have, and if the client is open to the idea there may be past lives, etc., we'll go back in there. But I don't tend to do the formal past life regression thing that some hypnotherapists do and so on. It's more like this. This has been very effective. If you can't remember a specific thing, make one up. Make one up. Now that sounds like it's a fiction, and it wouldn't be very useful, okay, because it's not. But that's not true. I have found when you make one up, it's still coming from that client. It's still coming from that person. And they can make it up in the most intense and exaggerated of ways. They get very intense about it. And it can be from a past life thing. They can imagine themselves being something like Joan of Arc being burned at the stake, for example. Now, they may not have been Joan of Arc, but something dramatic like that. And get very intense about it, tap, 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 or optimal EFT, optimal EFT, optimal EFT. And you'll start to resolve that. That's not formal past life regression, but to me, it's highly effective. And that's what we do there.
Question, if I may. Have you ever had any clients with schizophrenia? Has it been effective?
I haven't had a schizophrenic client myself. Over the years, I've had reports that people who have dealt with people with schizophrenia. I don't know of anybody who has reported cures for schizophrenia, although I also don't know anybody else who has really done EFT persistently, skillfully, and really put it to the test. It was more of a, let's give this a try and see what happens. But the positive reports I have gotten is that the voices that they hear are much less impactful. They happen much less often. They're not gone, but their impact seems to be less and less. My own view of that, my own suspicion of that is if it was really skillfully done and done with persistence, that we would get closer and closer and closer to a cure for that, or where it is so minimal that it just fades off in the distance. I don't know that. Somebody's got to do that to prove or disprove that. The more you get involved with the optimal EFT, the more you will see how absolutely masterful and clever the guard at the gate is at distracting you, finding ways to get you off the track, disguising it in some other fashion. I mean, there's our resistance to this enlightenment, if you will, is much more immense than we're aware of, and you will become more and more aware of that the more you study optimal EFT, and you more and more you see what's really going on and the wily ways of this guard at the gate, and you may have seen my pictorial of the guard at the gate on our website. It's that little 8-year-old boy. Okay. Yeah, but understand, that's a good depiction, because this is a very insecure little boy who doesn't know who he really is convinced about some things, but afraid of letting go of anything, and is very defiant and fearful of letting the love in. And we academically say, yes, we would love to have love, 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 but when it comes right down to it, you also are in love with that physical body of yours, which to you is who you are, and we're gradually going to shift that perception, and that will create healing at levels that have been not seen before, to the extent we can make this thing blossom. So James, you have a question?
Yes, sir. Hi.
Hi.
I actually, Rad actually answered asked a part of my two-part question, so I'll try to make it quick. My question was more so towards the affection of love and bringing love in. It was more so, I guess it's the idea of the bringing in the quiet that is the concept of love, if I got that right from what you explained. My concern is, because I've been trying for this whole week daily, I do 1 hour where I practice your borrowing benefits to work with my stutter, because this is something that I've dealt with my entire life, and I've tried several things and nothing has seemed to work, and I think that's what brought me to EFT, which I'm grateful for. But I have somewhat of a struggle trying to wrap my mind around the concept of bringing in that love and what it means to, I guess, fill the affected area with the love.
When you say fill the affected area, are you speaking of something in your throat, or your the stuttering or jaw, or what?
I'm referring more so because I'm trying to do it more of like the tabletop and the table leg. So I've gone and I've like had like the legs drawn up to certain events that I can possibly think of, and I tried to work through each one. Yeah. But it's more so because in your optimal EFT, you mentioned to swirl the love around the problem, and you know, I'm trying to conceptualize myself, and sometimes I try to envision like a light being swirled around the event or something, but you know, I still have trouble with that.
Okay, thank you. The swirl, just and that allows me to make a good distinction. There are many, many ways to bring love in. I happen to bring it in with a swirl in some cases. The swirl tends to be when I'm aiming at a symptom. Okay. Got a headache, I swirl around, you know, the head. Earache, I swirl around the ear. Shoulder, I swirl around that. Just let love come in. But I'm aiming at the symptom, realizing I may not be at the cause. Okay. Okay. But I will swirl when I'm aiming right at the symptom, oftentimes. But it varies. It varies immensely. I've got a lot of stuff that I've done, which I haven't put up on our website yet, where I'm dealing with people, and we have lots of metaphors that we use as we're bringing in unseen therapy, and you'll see a lot of these in time because I'll put them up there. But the swirl is just sort of one of them. Now, when you get down to events, and with stuttering, the EFT approach is there is one or more specific events in your lifetime that are now unresolved that keep showing up when you're in the circumstances where the stuttering starts to show up. Okay, right. That needs to get resolved. You may not be able to find it yourself. Somebody else may be able to find who's outside of you. Unseen therapist may get in there and go, and take care of it. Don't know. Okay. Anyway, I wanted to draw that distinction, but I'm not sure I've got your question yet. Give me the question again.
Well, I think you did somewhat answer without me even asking it. You know, I was just trying to, because sometimes, you know, I just struggle with the idea of, okay, I try to find these ailments going on when I think about the specific event, and you know, and I read, you know, to bring the love in with, you know, you can kiss it, or you know, the visualization, you know, I guess is how far or how in depth should the visualization be of, you know, of the love? You know, should I envision a hug, or should I envision a kiss, or is it just a thought? Just think of kissing and think of a hug.
That's the beauty of it. You can have a lot of fun in there.
Okay.
In the past, I've done this, and oftentimes I'll just let the metaphor just show up in my own mind. It's like unseen therapists coming in and playfully doing some things. Like I've had while I'm dealing with somebody's emotional issues, I've had the Mormon Tabernacle Choir come in and sing Hallelujah, Hallelujah. And it's a lot of fun, okay?
Yeah.
So hugs and kisses in any other form, your dog licking you in the face or wagging the tail, use your own version of it. There is not the way to do that kind of thing. Love is defined differently for different people. I want to try something right now. This is a
Sure.
complete experiment, okay, if you're
Sure.
okay with this.
Absolutely.
What I'm going to ask everybody to do is to close their eyes, become you, James, and imagine, in fact, everybody close your eyes now. We'll just do this, okay? Imagine that you are James. We do not know what kind of emotional issue or specific event or whatever may be behind the stuttering thing. We just don't know. But we're going to imagine being James and trying to speak and going, oh, I can't speak, or I'm about to stutter. This sort of emotional jitter that I described early on in this, just kind of like that. Imagine that being that, and imagine let's develop the idea that whatever that emotional issue is, it is a cause behind the need to stutter. And so now that you have that, now bring in ultimate therapist, bring in love, bring in the Mormon Tabernacle Choir if you want to, but bring in peace to that jitter. Make that jitter, if you will, quiet. Knowing that you're sending love to James for the cause of the stuttering. And just do that for a bit. Okay, James, I have no idea what would happen there, but I want to ask you, as that was happening, did you feel anything different? Yes, no? And it's okay, whatever happened or not happened.
Sure. I think it was very weird in the sense where in my eyes I just saw like a circular movement going around. It wasn't vivid, but I could see that it was like a circular thing going around. And at the start, because my heart races once I know that it's my turn to speak, and doing that, that racing actually slowed down.
Is it slower now than you thought it would be?
It's actually slower now. Just to bring in this a point, when you first opened it up for people to speak, it initially I can see my shirt moving, because then that meant to me, okay, I do want to ask this, and that means that I'm gonna have to speak at some point when I'm called upon, which I didn't know when you were gonna call on me, but just the idea had my heart going crazy.
Okay, well, assess this for me if you can.
Sure.
Just getting to the heart racing part of it.
Okay.
Are you 10% improved there? 40% improved? What? Give me a percent improvement if you can.
I would say from the 100 that I felt, I would definitely say it's about a 40% improvement, because it's more than half. Okay. I can definitely say that.
More than half would mean a 60% improvement.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. All right. Want to do one more thing this time, and this is just me experimenting. Okay.
Sure.
But we're going to have everybody close your eyes, and this time we're going to be a little more focused. We're going to focus on James's heart pounding at the mere thought of having to speak. Just get that idea, the pounding heart, and then bring in unseen therapists to calm down the heart. We're being very focused here, and it's basically on a symptom, but I want to see what happens, okay? So let's do that. Okay, James, how's the heart?
It actually slowed down, and I realized at first, when we first started it, it was still the same speed. But as my thoughts were going on, and I guess that's a part of my practice, I realized that I kept getting in my own way, in the sense of, am I supposed to be thinking about the heart? Am I supposed to be thinking about the therapist around the heart? Am I supposed to be thinking about me trying to talk? But then once I realized and I said, dude, just stop and just get quiet, that's when the heart actually slowed down.
I'll tell you what's interesting, and this is just to my perception. What you just said for the last 30 seconds or so,
yes.
I saw very little stuttering. Were you aware of that?
Yes, yes.
Okay, all right.
Yes.
That doesn't mean we cured your stuttering.
Right.
And maybe we did, I don't know. That is evidence, though, that the unseen therapist and the oneness and all of that has power. That's what we want to talk about here. So anyway, I've got to be...
Thanks a lot.
Carrying on. Okay, thank you so much, James. Is optimal EFT limited to those I'm dealing with? No. The way it appears on the section that I'm doing, you know, on our website, it appears, though, that you can either do it for yourself or you can do it one-on-one if you're in the healing professions and that kind of thing. But indeed, as we expand in all of this, I don't think we're at all limited to having it be somebody in our presence. Remember, we are all one, even though it doesn't appear that way. There also, and this is quantum physics, as well as the Course in Miracles saying this, there is no time and there's no space. It does not exist. So there's no space between you and me. There is no time involved. Everything is all one. So any kind of healing we start doing here starts affecting other people, even though they're not aware of it. Okay? So to me, I am like one voice talking about the same kind of thing that many, many others are talking about. And it's sort of a beginning snowball, if you will, where there are going to be many people talking about this from various different ways, many paths to use. And I think we're on our way, but I don't think we are limited to people that are in our... Hi, Michelle.
Hello. I was hoping if you could help me. I've actually got eye cancer. It seems that tonight's been a lot about eyes, but yeah, I've actually got eye.
Wait. We have a different accent, and so I didn't quite get that. Say it again, please.
I'm actually ringing tonight because I've got eye cancer.
You have eye cancer. Okay, all right.
And I'm doing lots of alternative things, which obviously need you to believe that my cancer is getting better.
Okay.
But unfortunately, one of the symptoms is constant flashing in my eye, and I can't seem to shift that.
Okay.
If you could help with that. I've done EFT. I've tried to take the frustration out of the flashing and the worry and things, but yeah, it's affecting me. Even when I'm doing visualizations, it's affecting me, this flashing.
On a scale of 0 to 10, how flashing is it right now?
It's quite bad today, so I'd say 10.
It's a 10. Are there any other symptoms right now other than the flashing?
A little bit. Well, I can't see. I've lost half the vision in my right eye.
Okay. How would you know if we did some work for you, if your vision had improved? I mean, how could we test that? Is there a way you could read something closer or farther away, or see something you can't see, or?
Yes, there's a box of After Eight sat on the end of the coffee table, and I can't read the writing on there. I can't read that it says After Eight on there. Okay,
so Michelle, it's your right eye. Do I have that correct?
Yes.
Okay. We're going to be aiming this now in this more general way. I've always got to give this pre-frame so that people understand that what we're doing, it may or may not produce what we want. It may not be permanent, all that other stuff, okay? Mm-hmm. But we're going to give it a shot and see what happens. Mm-hmm. So,
thank you.
If everybody would kindly close your eyes. And imagine yourself being Michelle. You have developed cancer in the right eye. It gives flashes from time. Imagine your right eye giving flashes and flashes and flashes, you know, very annoyingly. And once you've got that down, that idea, bring in love, bring in unseen. You can swirl the love around if you want, around the right eye. You can, if you want, have a nice, pleasant, warm or cool waterfall come over it and soothe it. Anything you want to do to enhance the healing aspect of it, knowing we're bringing in unseen therapists, we're inviting unseen therapists in to do some healing. So let's be quiet and send love to the right eye and the flashing in whatever way it seems appropriate for you. Okay, Michelle, open your eye. It's okay, by the way, if you don't have any result. We just need to know what happened. So is the flashing still a 10?
Probably, no, probably about a 7.
It's about a 7, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, look at your coffee table and whatever you're trying to read. Tell me if that's any different.
Slightly, not a lot. Yeah, slightly.
Okay. All right. Let's just go give it another try, okay? It's going to be the same thing. Everybody close your eyes. Imagine yourself to be Michelle. You've got the cancerous development in the right eye. There's flashing going on. Well, one of the things that I did, just so you know, is I saw the flash, 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 and I just saw it gradually just fade into nothing. You can do that or whatever else seems to fit. But just be quiet and do what you want to do. Bring in an unseen therapist and see you in a moment. Okay, test that again, would you, Michelle?
No, a little bit clearer, but not a lot again, sorry.
Okay, what about the flashing?
Still a 7, sorry, yeah.
Still a 7, okay. Yeah. I just want to give it one more try, okay?
Okay.
So no more instructions here. You've already had instructions, so we'll just close our eyes and give it one more try and see what happens, okay? Okay, Michelle, the flashing still a 7?
Well, maybe a 5. Yeah, it's still there, but yeah, not as bad, yeah.
Okay, just so we're clear, because I'm a great one for testing and all of that. Okay. For it to be a 5 means it's roughly 50% improved from where you were. Is that about right?
No, actually, I'd say 6 then, sorry, yeah. No, it's not, definitely not 50%, but it's better.
Okay, so it's about 40% improved.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, and your ability to see?
Slightly better, just, yeah, slightly better from the beginning. I can see the words, but I still can't read them, yeah.
But before you couldn't see the words?
It was a lot smaller, yeah. So I'd say that would be about 30% improvement.
Oh, 30% improvement. Okay. Yeah. All right. Okay. So that is evidence that Unseen Therapist has done something in your behalf. Okay.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Definitely felt energy.
That's also evidence, although we don't know for sure. It's simply evidence, okay, that the guard at the gate for you is closed tight. There is some kind of, and I have to just speculate and guess here, unresolved guilt, anger, fear, resentment. Typically, by the way, it's some form of resentment or anger. Somebody did something to you, etc., and you won't let go of it, and all of that. And that, the kind of thing that often creates the physical thing. I don't mean to lecture or anything like that. I'm just pointing it out as possibilities. You have to deal with that whatever your case. But at least we have a clue here that temporarily, at least, aha, something is going on.
Yeah.
So you have an open door, and how far you go through the door is going to be up to you, of course.